stop. Listen closely to this, because what you're about to discover was literally censored by one of the most authoritarian regimes in history. Imagine a secret about female fidelity so explosive that even the Nazis, yes, the Nazis, decided it was too dangerous to be revealed. You're navigating blind in an ocean of relationships, unaware of the reefs that could destroy your emotional boat. This censored research is your underwater map. It reveals every hidden danger, every treacherous current, every safe route you need to know. Pay attention, because this could save you years of unnecessary suffering. Have you ever wondered why so many men live insecure in their relationships? Why that constant feeling of uncertainty? That internal radar always on, looking for signs of danger? The inconvenient truth is that you've been programmed not to understand certain patterns. Society has created a smokescreen around feminine human nature, and when someone tried to study this scientifically, the result was so disturbing that it had to be erased. Think about it for a second. What kind of information about relationship dynamics would be so dangerous that it needed to be suppressed? What did they discover that they didn't want you to know? Here's the real problem. You're making important decisions about your love life based on incomplete information. It's like trying to assemble a puzzle with half the pieces hidden. You'll never get to see the complete picture. And you know what's worse? This lack of knowledge doesn't just hurt you once. It creates a vicious cycle where you repeat the same mistakes, attracting the same toxic situations, always questioning your own perception of reality. You keep wondering if it's your paranoia, or if something is really wrong. This mental state of constant doubt erodes your self-confidence from the inside out. You start to doubt your instincts, ignore obvious signs, rationalize behaviors that deep down you know are problematic. The research I'm about to reveal was conducted in Germany before World War II. Scientists at the time were studying patterns of female behavior in long-term relationships. What they discovered was so contrary to accepted social narratives that the regime itself decided it was better to bury everything. I've spent the last 7 years immersed in evolutionary psychology and relationship dynamics. I've read every obscure study, every buried research, every truth they tried to hide. And I can guarantee you one thing. What you're about to learn is ultra rare. Few apply it because few even know it exists. Now, I'm going to share with you the 5 signs revealed in this censored research that indicate when female fidelity is at risk. Each of these signs is like a red flag on your internal radar. Ignore them at your own peril. Number 1. Sudden changes in communication patterns. The research found that when a woman begins to internally question her loyalty, the first sign appears in the way she communicates. It's not about talking less or more. It's about the quality of communication. She stops sharing intimate details of her day. Conversations become functional, about tasks, appointments, logistics. The emotional depth vanishes like water evaporating in the hot sun. You feel like you're talking to a coworker, not your partner. Studies show that this pattern appears on average 3 months before any concrete action. This is the period where she is internally processing her options, weighing pros and cons, deciding whether it's worth continuing to emotionally invest in the relationship. Does that make sense to you? Number 2, a sudden increase in appearance upkeep for no apparent reason. Pay attention to this. When a committed woman suddenly starts investing heavily in her appearance, without an obvious trigger, like a job promotion or a special event, your radar needs to go off. The censored research documented that this behavior stems from an unconscious desire to test her market value. She's not necessarily looking for someone, but she's checking if she still has options. It's like someone updating their resume, even while employed. She goes to the gym with a frequency she never had, buys new clothes that seem designed to impress people who aren't you, drastically changes her haircut, starts wearing different perfumes. All this while acting as if it's the most normal thing in the world. The danger here is that the more external validation she receives, the more she questions why she's with you. Every glance, every compliment, every Instagram message feeds an internal narrative that she can do better. Can you feel the difference? Number 3, creation of private spaces that didn't exist before. This is one of the most subtle and dangerous signs revealed in the research. When fidelity is at stake, she instinctively begins to compartmentalize her life. The phone that used to be left anywhere is now always with her. The password you knew has changed under some vague excuse about security. She has new commitments that are superficially explained. Outings with friends you've never met appear out of nowhere. It's not your paranoia to notice these things. Your evolutionary human nature developed these sensors for a reason. The research showed that women who create these private spaces are, at the very least, fantasizing about alternatives to the current relationship. She may not even be doing anything concrete yet, but mentally, she's already building a parallel life where you don't exist. It's the stage of psychological preparation for an eventual separation. Scary, isn't it? Number 4. Disproportionate irritability with your flaws that were previously tolerated. This sign is brutal because it directly attacks your self-esteem. Suddenly, things about you that were never a problem become a reason for an argument. Your chewing irritates her. Your laugh is too loud. You leave the wet towel in the wrong place. Small habits that are part of who you are become unforgivable crimes. She is creating internal justifications to validate feelings that already exist. The inconvenient truth that the research revealed is that this irritability isn't about your flaws. It's about her psychological need to turn you into the villain of the story. If she can convince herself that you are inadequate, it becomes easier to justify any future action. It's a documented psychological defense mechanism. She needs to believe that you deserve to be cheated on or abandoned. Otherwise, she would have to face the truth about her own choices. Does that hurt to accept? Number 5. Changes in patterns of physical intimacy without medical explanation. This is perhaps the most obvious sign, but many men rationalize or ignore it. The censored research was clear. When emotional loyalty shifts, the body follows. It can go to either extreme. Either she withdraws completely, making constant excuses, always tired, always with a headache, or the opposite happens, a sudden and artificial intensity, as if she is fulfilling an obligation or trying to cover up guilt. The German researchers documented that women in the process of questioning fidelity often use intimacy as a thermometer. They are comparing, testing if they still feel anything, checking if the problem is you or something internal to them. The dance of bodies doesn't lie. When the emotional connection breaks, the physical body simply cannot pretend for long. Human nature is honest in this aspect, even when the mind tries to deceive. Is the bigger picture starting to make sense? Now, you must be thinking that this research is too old, that the world has changed, that women today are different. Let me tell you a truth that almost no one realizes. Fundamental human nature has not changed in 100 years. It hasn't changed in 1,000 years. What has changed are the circumstances, the technologies, the excuses, but the basic impulses, the behavior patterns rooted in millions of years of evolution, these remain identical. Instagram didn't exist, but the need for validation did. Tinder didn't exist, but the desire to test options did. The excuses are modern, the behaviors are ancestral. In fact, modern technology has only amplified these patterns. It has made it easier to execute behaviors that have always existed. The censored research is more relevant today than it was then, because now we have 1,000 ways to manifest the same basic impulses. I'm now going to give you a framework I call the loyalty code. It's a way for you to process and apply this knowledge without becoming paranoid or toxic, because knowledge without wisdom is guaranteed destruction. C for historical knowledge. You need to understand that these patterns have existed for thousands of years. It's not about the specific woman in your life. It's about relationship dynamics that transcend individuals. When you understand the historical context, you stop taking things personally. O for critical observation. Observe without judging. See the patterns without creating narratives. An isolated sign means nothing. Multiple converging signs create a pattern. Be a scientist of your own life, not a paranoid detective looking for crimes. D for conscious decision. When you identify worrying patterns, don't react emotionally, respond strategically. The research gave you information, but the action needs to be calculated, not impulsive. I for personal integration. Use this knowledge first to improve yourself. If the signs are appearing, honestly ask yourself what role you played in it. Not as blame, but as an opportunity for growth. G, for emotional management. Discovering inconvenient truths about fidelity can be devastating. You need to process these emotions in a healthy way. Anger doesn't solve anything. Despair doesn't help. Clarity and calm are your best allies. O, for opportunity for growth. Every revelation, no matter how painful, is a chance to evolve. Men who understand these deep dynamics are not victims of circumstances. They navigate relationships with mastery. Remember that man in the coffee shop I mentioned earlier, sitting alone, watching couples around him with disillusionment? That was me 7 years ago, before I discovered these censored truths, before I understood the patterns. I thought the problem was with me, that I wasn't good enough, interesting enough, successful enough. The truth is, I was playing a game without knowing the rules. I was sailing without a map, blaming the storms for my shipwrecks. When you understand feminine human nature without the politically correct filters, without the comforting lies, something magical happens. You stop being reactive and become proactive. You stop being a victim and become the architect of your own experience. I'm not saying that all women are unfaithful. Far from it. I'm saying that there are predictable patterns, clear signs, relationship dynamics that you need to understand to navigate successfully. The censored research wasn't hidden because it was a lie. It was hidden because it was too true, because it revealed mechanisms that society prefers to keep veiled, because it gave too much power to those who understood it. Think about it. If all men deeply understood these patterns, how would that change social dynamics? How would that affect the balance of power in relationships? Are you starting to understand why this was censored? The knowledge you just received is ultra rare. Most men will live and die without ever understanding these dynamics. They will repeat the same mistakes, suffer the same disappointments, always questioning their own sanity. You now have a choice. You can ignore all this, go back to your normal life, pretend you learned nothing. Or you can integrate this knowledge, use this underwater map to navigate with mastery. But let me warn you about one thing. Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. It's like those 3D images that once you finally see them, you can never again see just the random dots. This can be liberating or imprisoning, depending on how you use it. If you become obsessed, paranoid, always looking for signs, you will destroy any chance of a healthy relationship. But if you use it wisely, like a calibrated internal radar, you will avoid years of suffering. The truth about female fidelity is not comfortable. It's not romantic. It's not what Hollywood tells you. But it's real. And reality, however harsh, always trumps illusion in the long run. How many men do you know who were caught completely by surprise? Who swore everything was fine until the day they discovered the truth? They weren't dumb. They just didn't have access to this censored information. Now you do. The question is what you will do with it. Will you use it to protect yourself and build more authentic relationships? Or will you let this knowledge rot in your mind without ever applying it? There's a saying that the truth sets you free, but only after it thoroughly irritates you. You're probably processing a lot right now, questioning past experiences in this new light. This is normal and healthy. The important thing is not to let this knowledge turn you into someone bitter or cynical. Use it as a tool, not a weapon. As protection, not as an attack. As wisdom, not as paranoia. Modern relationship dynamics are complex, full of invisible traps. But when you understand the fundamental patterns, when you can see through the social fog, everything becomes clearer. You no longer have to live in uncertainty. You no longer have to question your intuition. You no longer have to ignore the obvious signs, hoping they will disappear on their own. Remember the 5 signs. Changes in communication, sudden investment in appearance, creation of private spaces, irritability with your flaws, changes in intimacy patterns. When you see 2 or more converging, your radar needs to be on high alert. But also remember the loyalty code, historical knowledge, critical observation, conscious decision, personal integration, emotional management, opportunity for growth. This is your framework for processing and acting. The censored research I revealed today is just the tip of the iceberg. There are layers upon layers of inconvenient truths about human nature that society prefers to hide. But you've already taken the first step. You chose the red pill. You chose to see reality as it is, not as you wish it were. This requires courage. It requires maturity. It requires mental strength to process uncomfortable truths. But in the end, this is what separates men who live extraordinary lives from men who merely exist. The ability to face the truth, however hard, and use that truth to build something better. The boat you are sailing blind now has a complete underwater map. You can see every reef, every dangerous current, every safe route. The question is whether you will use this map or ignore it and keep hitting the same reefs. I know which choice I would make. I know which choice wise men make. The question is which choice you will make. Before you go, do yourself a favor. Like this video right now, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell. Do it now before you forget, because the knowledge I share here isn't the kind of thing you find just anywhere. This is the kind of content few dare to create. Truths that bother. Realities that disturb. Knowledge that was literally censored for being too powerful. You are now part of a select group of men who have access to these truths. Use this privilege wisely. And always remember, you are no longer sailing blind. You have the underwater map. You have the power of knowledge. The only question that remains is whether you have the courage to use it.